You can start.
Oh, thank you. Assalamu alaikum to everyone. Welcome back again to our Sunday meeting, Sunday Halakha. And we're going to continue again where we left off last week, although I was not here last week, but I'm going to do my best to continue where we left off. So we're reading again, like this. Let me go back to the top of the page. So, Sincerity in Islam. So today we have our guests from Arizona, Hikmat, and then Mustafa from North Carolina, and I will be moderating again this week. All right, so we'll continue about the sincerity. So I'm pretty sure, like, it's been a majority of our brothers and sisters who are joining us are familiar with this topic, and so let's just start reading, and I will stop like every now and then and let our panelists to comment on the matters. All right, inshallah, let's begin. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasul Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. All right, let's continue. Second means one is saved from ostentation and attains sincerity by attaining a sort of presence before God, hudur, that issues from the strength of verified faith, iman tahqiqi, and the flashes of light coming from contemplating the realities of faith, tafakkur. I- uh, um, Tafakkur, yeah, tafakkur imani, and the artifacts of creation, masnuwat, which results in the knowledge, marifa, of the artful maker, thinking that the merciful creator is present, hadir, and observing, nazir, not seeking the attention of anyone other than him, and keeping in mind that looking at others and seeking help from them in his presence would violate the proper conduct of being in his presence. At any rate, there are many degrees and levels in this. However, much can each person benefit from it according to their share, that is, a profit. Since many realities that will save from ostentation and have one attain sincerity are mentioned in the Risale-i Nur, we will refer the matter to it and cut short the discussion here. We will elucidate two or three among the many causes that break sincerity and lead to ostentation. First, rivalry in regard to material benefits slowly breaks sincerity. Moreover, it wounds the outcome of the service and causes that material benefit to be lost too. Yes, this nation has always nurtured ideas of respect and assistance to those who work for reality and the hereafter. Yes, this nation has always nurtured ideas of respect and assistance to those who work for reality and the hereafter. They have helped them with material benefits, such as charity and gifts, and shown them respect, intending to actively participate in the reality of their sincerity and loyal service in some respect, and to preserve them from wasting their time by occupied with procuring material needs. However, this assistance and benefit shall not be sought, it is given. It shall not be sought even with the tongue of one's state, lisan hal, by desiring it in the heart and expecting it. However, this assistance and benefit shall not be sought, it is given. It shall not be sought even with the tongue of one's state, lisan hal, by desiring it in the heart and expecting it. Rather, it is given while not expected. Otherwise, one's sincerity would be wounded. Moreover, he comes close to the proscription of the verse فلا تشتروا فلا تشتروا بآياتي ثمنا قليلا. Do not trade my signs for a small price, from Quran 2:41, and his deeds would partly be wasted. So, by desiring and expecting this material benefit, a vein of rivalry against one's true brother and friend in that specific service awakens in the evil commanding soul to not lose that benefit to others. One's sincerity would be wounded. He would lose the sanctity that is in the service, and he would assume an unpleasant position in the view of the people of reality. Moreover, he would also lose the material benefit in question. At any rate, there is much to be said about this issue. I'll cut it short and only mention two examples that should strengthen the secret of sincerity and genuine agreement among my true brothers. Now, I'd like to stop here, and because I didn't want to cut it a little bit, because I think this is a very important kind of issue, and I believe that our panelists may have something to say about this. And let me just go scroll back. And now I'd like to go back, like to maybe just like start with Hikmat abi, just for Hikmat hocam. Would you like to say anything on this issue? The second means I know, like, this is very, very important kind of issue, and it's one of the mostly uh, just kind of regarded and just like most, just one of the most they discussed issues. And I know, like in Darsanas, and we must have like this seen like there's many examples and everything. But what do you think, like this from bottom of your heart, like, what comes to your mind at this very moment, just especially reading this part?
Or can the other RV King just talk? I am just sitting down. Yeah. Went to the office. Sorry.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah. Maybe we can go to like Mustafa hocam. So maybe he can just say something, and then maybe we can go back to Hikmet hocam. So,
Selamun aleyküm.
walaikum salam, please go ahead.
Euzubillahimineşşeytanirracim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Elhamdülillahi Rabbil alemin. Vessalatu vesselamu ala seyyidina Muhammedin ve ala alihi ve sahbihi ecmain. Now, of course, the issue is sincerity. And sincerity is to do what we do only for God's sake, to have God as the sole purpose, right? So it comes from even etymologically, the word relates to purification, making something pure, right? So as purpose and as refuge and as the object of our worship, as the source of assistance, and so on and so forth. With regard to all these things, that we see God first and foremost. But here the word first is actually misleading because that implies second. There is no second to God, right? So when we talk about God's oneness, for instance, it is not there are like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then God is one. No, God is one, singular, and that's the meaning of one of the meanings of hadiyah, right? So we want to have God and God alone as the as who we want to please in what we do and in our intentions. Now, this would be very difficult if you don't have strong faith, and perhaps even more precisely and particularly, as it's mentioned here, verified faith. What does verified faith mean? Very briefly, in the example that Ustad Nursi gives to us, everybody will probably remember this parable or metaphor, right? Imagine a city and a caravan comes to the city and a huge amount of merchandise comes to the city with this caravan. There are two ways to know that this merchandise belongs to one person. One is that you can say, well, this is so much that nobody other than this great merchant can own such a large amount of merchandise. And the other is to look and see the seal of this merchant, the stamp of this merchant on each and every particular item in the merchandise. Now, in the first version, which is, we can translate it as like naive faith, or not tahqiq, not verified faith. In this first version, we know the person who has faith, or the person who knows that everything in the merchandise belongs to that particular merchant, but as Ustad says, much theft can happen in this form of understanding because the let's say there's a guard who has this kind of understanding, and he is waiting guard, keeping guard by this merchandise in the middle of the night when there's nobody else. A thief can come and say, "Yes, such a large quantity of merchandise cannot belong to anybody other than this particular merchant. I agree with that. I acknowledge that this whole thing, the whole pile belongs to him. But I was also coming to the city with the caravan, and on the path, as we were traveling en route, uh, one of these tiny things, let's say, I don't know, let's take a cup, right? This little cup here mix in to the large merchandise. This cup is mine. I actually drink water from it. It's mine. I have kept it like I inherited from my father. If this thief is also very persuasive, he can persuade the guard and just take that cup away.
Right.
And the guard will say, okay, yes, this merchandise cannot belong to anybody other than this merchant, but this particular cup mixed in. Now, what this translates to in our understanding of in reality is shirk, because we don't give even a little thing to anybody other than God. If you were to if one were to see the seal, the stamp of the merchant on everything, then the guard would say, okay, let me take a look at the cup, turn the cup over, at the bottom see the stamp of the merchant, and say, no, you are trying to cheat me. This belongs to the merchant because here it is, the stamp is here, right? So when applying this to reality, we are living in a cosmos, in a world, right? In which is full of items. This whole thing is a merchandise. We can think of it as the merchandise property of God, but as we move through life, right, we may be deceived by Satan to forget that everything belongs to God. And when we forget that everything belongs to God, we cut that relationship between things and God. And when we cut that relationship between things and God, we start to forget about God. Right? So this sense of presence, therefore, is something that comes with verified faith in the sense that wherever we turn, whatever we look at, whatever we contemplate, whatever we reflect on, we think of the relationship between it and God. And Ustad Nursi explains this as mana harfi, right? The other indicative meaning of things. Instead of looking at the nominative, self-indicating meaning of things, if you were to see, if you were to train ourselves, if you were to attain iman tahqiqi, verified faith, and attain this kind of seeing, right? Seeing through the things, the creator of things, or seeing through the causes, the causer of all causes, then we would be noticing the presence of God wherever we turn. Now, if you were to attain that through verified faith, if you were to attain that sense of presence wherever we turn, we see the signs of creation. Through the signs of creation, we recognize the creator, and therefore we see, we notice, we understand, we feel that we are in the presence of the creator. Then that leads to us to sincerity in two ways. One is that, I mean, he is our purpose, right? We have already established this as a goal for ourselves. We want to have God's pleasure, God's contentment as the purpose in all of our actions. And as soon as we are reminded of God, right, because we are believers, because we want to be sincere, we will recalibrate our purposes, recalibrate our intentions, and attain sincerity. But there's another way in this, and that is that we recognize that there is no power either to attain things or to fend things off, right? Other than by God's. And therefore, whatever we need, we turn to God. Whatever we are afraid of, we turn to God, right? Therefore, we find ourselves in that presence that provides everything we need and that defends us, that protects us from everything that we fear, and that in and of itself is a very strong motivation, very strong cause to establish sincerity.
Mhm. Mhm. Good, good. Yeah, just perfect. Great, great. How about Hikmat Hocam? Do you have anything
Yeah.
to add on this?
Just wanted to maybe
Thank you. So what I'm like explained up to like this one here, and just like yeah, just basically is mentioning about the just having that sort of kind of link and just keeping it like just presence. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, and, I've already explained everything. I just wanted to add a couple of things. And so we all wanted to do just to attain the sincerity. And the studies is clearly explaining that how we can attain the sincerity
Hmm.
here. And which is perfect, really. Everybody was asking, how am I going to attain? This is the perfect part
Hmm.
that how we are going to attain.
Hmm.
And as we said, that Allah is present all the time and merciful, Kareem,
Hmm.
Rahim, and
Hmm.
also He's always observing and watching us,
Hmm.
right? The different names as well, divine names too. So this
Hmm.
is the beautiful thing to understand our relationship with Allah, with God. That's how we can just connect fully, completely, whenever or whatever we do, every single item and time that we need to
Hmm.
understand, we can just seek His help. Otherwise, it is going to violate our relationship.
Hmm.
For instance, if you are sitting at home and talking to your son, and you are providing everything to son, meaning that Allah is giving the permission, anyways, that you bought the food and everything from outside. And think about it this way, that if your son says, hey, our neighbor, that guy is just helping me or bringing this food to our table, this is going to violate, hurt your heart, right? This is
Hmm.
exactly what it is.
Hmm.
Allah is provider, all provider, and then providing everything. And if we
Hmm.
think about it like, hey, the other, like, or seek others' help,
Hmm.
that is going to violate our relationship. In
Hmm.
order not to violate our relationship, what we need to understand, that we need to ask, what is our relationship? But how much or how deep do you know Allah, Marifatullah? I'll be clearly explain that really this is important. There is a level of marifatullah as well. You can understand the divine name, but the level of the divine names is something
Hmm.
different as well. So that is one of the questions that I always ask myself as well, that maybe that I remind us that how much or how deep that we know Allah, and that is going to be really helpful in terms of attaining sincerity as well.
Hmm.
So 2 months ago, I also gave the example. I saw that one of my students was having some kind of like a little bracelet, and then it says WJD.
Hmm.
So I am going to. I have something as well, that I'm going to ask whatever I face and whatever I do, what
Hmm.
Allah wants me to do in this type of event, incident, and any situation,
Hmm.
even with your family, with your son, daughter, or outside as well, with your
Hmm.
brothers, with
Hmm.
your like colleagues in the working environment. What
Yeah.
Allah wants me to do, what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wants me to do, if this type of things happen, what is His sunnah, what He ordered me, and then what is in Quran.
Hmm.
This type of question is going to give us that, or attain the sincerity, or also help understand the level, or going
Hmm.
down and deeply understand the marifatullah, or divine names, level of
Hmm.
the divine names. When
Hmm.
you do that, you are going to start loving Allah, and you
Hmm.
will understand that how much that He is merciful, and He's always watching. That is going to be helpful. So think about it, like I said, that the son, your daughter, or your wife, hey, this neighbor is providing our food, then that is going to violate the relationship. And this is what all I wanted to say.
Hmm.
We can
Yeah,
say
thank
more,
you.
but that's, I think, other
No,
brothers
no,
can
thank
say.
you, thank you. That's great comments, like from both of you. Just no, I'd like to ask also just one more question, maybe going back to like it's maybe just for both of you. Just let's see, just because there is a link and just like as Musojam and like you just mentioned about like just the presence of him, so just knowledge like in Marifatullah and everything. And just practicing is just being like just knowledge is one thing, and then of course I'm just practicing. When it comes to practice, it's a totally something else. And I think that's what Ustad Bediuzzaman is that he's trying to like just drag our attention to, especially this part. And yeah, just keeping his like his presence and everything, just like on your mind, and always being like in a conscious, and every single minute, just like in every single hour, every single maybe second, I don't know, just as we just live through the this world. So we have to have that sort of kind of conscious, like being some sort of kind of like just basically reminding ourselves that we are in his presence, and living through and reading his all his letters that he's sending us, like taking a natural kind of like a walk and just seeing all these like birds like tweeting, and just the leaves and like somehow like just singing in a harmony, and we're listening and just reading, and everything is just. But now, especially when it comes to seeking attention like from other than him, yes, and then now just he moves on to especially this part, so the rivalry that he brings into that just like in a while like it cause like somehow like slowly breaks sincerity. Would you like to comment on it? So how can we maybe just connect the first and the second, especially the paragraph, the here? Would you like to comment on that? And how can we maybe just form this connect? And how can we apply that knowledge, Marfatullah, into our social life with, of course, brothers and sincere like, brothers and sisters? Maybe I should go back to Mustafa first.
Let me try, inshallah.
Please.
Before I move on to that, I want to add, one thing, and that is, and it can be connected anyway. The knowledge of existence, the knowledge of the existence of a thing, and when we say thing, we have to qualify it. I'll do that, inshallah.
Sure.
And a sense of presence before or in front of that thing are different. And when we say thing here, of course, we are referring to God, and it is not anything. God is, first of all, exists. Second, he is one. Third, he is life. For he knows, he sees, he hears, right? So we know God not only with regard to his existence, but also with regard to his attributes. And Ustad Nursi is bringing up, one of the implications of some of these attributes that relate to that sense of presence in the word nazr, right? Observing. He is observing, right? He is live. He knows. He sees. He hears. And not only that, he sees, hears like everything in general, but he's observing you, me specifically, right? And this is a very important difference. If you were to try to imagine this in our lives, let's say you imagine your youth, you're at secondary school, your parents tell you to do something or not to do something, but you're at school away from your parents. Perhaps you are walking from school to home or home to school away from your parents. And that thing that they told you not to do is something that's attractive to you, and you somehow face the opportunity to do that thing, right? So there will be a pressure coming from inside to do or not to do that thing, depending on what they ask to you, right?
That's what we call it, test,
yeah. There will be a pressure, an urge, right? There will be an urge to do it, and then there will be a counter pressure, counter urge not to do it because your parents told you not to do it, right? And depending on how much you respect your parents, how much you trust your parents, how much you love your parents, and so on and so forth, one of these urges is going to overcome, right? So this is one thing, and this is good. But imagine the same situation, but this child, you are walking to school with your father, right? Your father is walking next to you, right? And you encounter the same situation. You have the opportunity to do this thing that your parents have been telling you not to do. But your father is next to you. He is looking at you. He is seeing what you do. He is observing you, right? So that counter urge will be significantly stronger. It will be much easier for you to overcome this urge to do the thing that you are not supposed to be doing, right? That's why the sense of presence is very important. When we know God, we are not only talking about a theoretical knowledge that that he
Right.
exists, right? We know his existence, and we know his existence with his attributes, and we know the consequence of those attributes is the sense of presence, and that is something that we need to cultivate, which goes to, of course, the hadith of Jibril, in which the Prophet was asked by Jibril, what is ihsan? And he says to worship God as though you see him, for even though you don't see him, you know that he sees you, right? This is something that we want to cultivate. And also related to the second part that you were asking about, the material
Benefits.
yeah, could you scroll up a little bit so that we can, yeah, okay, yeah, rivalry in regard to material benefits. Now, one of the, of course, implications of the example that we gave before with regard to the merchant is that we know that everything belongs to him, including ourselves and including all the things that we may possibly have or have not, right? Now, Ustad is, of course, addressing this treatise first and foremost to his students. At some point when I was involved in the discussion, I had shared this, right? Two of his students who had excelled in copying the Risales and distributing them and leading two teams, right? Ustad hears that these two these two students had a quarrel. They were in some sort of rivalry, had a quarrel, right? He calls both of them to himself. They come at the same time. He says, Salam alaikum, alaikum salam, and they sit and he says, right. And then he dictates this treatise. This treatise, the treatise on a flash, the 21st flash. Of course, first and foremost, the addressees of this treatise are those who were in the movement of the Risale-i Nur, in the Hizmet or Khidmah of Bediuzzaman Said Nursi and the Quran. But this can be expanded to anybody who is in the service of the Quran, who is in the service of this religion, who is serving God, right? And when we serve God, we cannot do it on our own. We serve God together with others, right? Now, here, rivalry comes into the picture, whether it is for the followers of Bediuzzaman Said Nursi, for the students of the Risale-i Nur, or for others, members of a tariqah, members of some other group, anybody who is serving God, right? Now, there are multiple things that relate to material benefits slowly breaking sincerity, but one of them, and I think a very important one of them, is that we, when we start to pay attention to those material benefits, when we start to think that, if I can have, 1 million, if I can somehow convince this merchant, this businessman to give me or give to service $1 million, we can build that building, and in that building, inshallah, there are going to be so beautiful lessons, and we will have students, and it will be a madrasa, blah, so on and so forth, right? So of course, this is all good. This is all good, but this may also mean that we are losing that sense of presence, because the sense of presence requires that we know God as the source of all benefit. He has all power. He is the powerful, and there is no power whatever to attain things or to fend things off other than him. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah al-aliyyul azim. Right? So when we start to pay attention to material benefits, we may be sliding into a situation in which we start to pay attention to means, or we start to see power in things or benefits, right? And that will take us away from the sense of presence. And if it goes, far enough, may God protect, it may even take our faith away. And that happens to people, like rarely, inshallah, may not happen to anybody, but it can happen. At least let's put it can happen, that we see power in causes. We start to attribute effect to causes, right? If I don't attribute effect to causes, what is that material benefit to me anyway, right? What is it in the larger scheme of things, right? Other than a means that God is using at the given moment in order to create, attain what He wills to attain. He doesn't need that means in order to attain it. He can just say be, and it is. He doesn't need the means. It is just that he has chosen this. But if I see him behind, all I want to please is God. All I want to do is not to attain this material benefit. But what that means is that if I'm doing it, I have started to pay attention to the material benefits, right? And it's going to lead to rivalry. It's going to lead to other things, and there are other things to be said about this. But at the first instance, right, I am losing sincerity because I am losing verified faith connected to what we were seeing, we were talking about before.
Oh yeah, great. Yeah, great example. Yeah, just thank you. Great comment. Hikmet Hocam, would you like to add anything on this? Like now, just Mr. Hocam said, like just now, for the temptations and everything. So God presence, like always, like and having and with us, like it would be very helpful. Just feeling it and just always practicing it. At the same time, like it would also kind of just somehow like it would be helpful for the rivalry. But then like and again, just thinking about like what the Ustad says that surah ikhlas, surah ukhuwat, that sort of kind of relationship, and right. So he says basically that just if we would like to gain the sincerity, so we should be careful about like in our brotherhood. Anything? Just would you like to share any comment or anything? Just any examples, any anecdotes that you had?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Inshallah, I just wanted to say a couple of
Please,
sentences.
please.
Brother already explained everything, anyways. But
Mhm.
this is something clear that I was just saying in previously that in my first sentence,
Mhm.
everything you do, everything you wanted to take an action,
Mhm.
that you need to think about the Allah presence, and then what Abi says is a sense of the
Mhm.
presence, and as well as
Right.
that you need to know that He's watching, observing us. So
Okay.
this is one of the example, like a
Mhm.
and like material benefits. So this is clearly explaining that the separation between like other type of activities compared to the activity for working for Islam or working for Allah.
Mhm.
So, for instance, in political science or
Mhm.
what they do is just there is a donation, right? And everybody
Yeah.
donates, and then they name is
Mhm.
going to be on that list, so that if there is something that benefits that is going to get or that's
Yeah.
going to be given, they will
Mhm.
say, "Hey, I'm here. I already donated,"
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And this is one thing that is clearly showing us that this is not pleasing Allah. Instead, it's just something trying to
Mhm.
get the material benefits. This
Mhm.
is also that in human there is different types of diseases like hupuja, right? And
Mhm.
to be famous in
Mhm.
different times and everything. So
Right.
donation
Yeah.
or giving
Mhm.
gift, okay, so that so you can see people.
Right.
And in the college or the university, remember, there
Mhm.
is a foundation. If somebody
Yeah.
just put a lot of money, they
Mhm.
can come to the college or the university with like big
Mhm.
I mean, don't want to explain that, but they are
Mhm.
gonna say, "Hey, I'm famous. I paid a lot of money, or I
Mhm.
donated a lot of money, and then I gave that gift and everything." So
Mhm.
this is that the one of the diseases that INS is going to be like big and huge, right?
Of course.
That's one of the diseases. This is also killing the sincerity.
Oh yeah.
So
It's
yeah,
fame.
that's
Fame. Yeah.
yeah, fame, hubuja. So let's say I
Mhm. Mhm.
donated lots of things, and so I want to get some kind of like a different
Yeah. Just
place.
continuous
And
recognition. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So this is killing the sincerity. That's what it says,
Mhm.
and we need to separate those type of activities
Mhm.
with compared to that pleasing Allah, which is going to give us that sincerity, or it help us that
Mhm.
attain the sincerity. So
Mhm.
whenever and whatever we do, that's why I wanted to say in the beginning of the last time in this sentence,
Mhm.
every time, all the time, that we need to think about that Allah is present and Allah is
Mhm.
observing us.
Mhm.
And when we think about it, and then that is going to be really helpful for just getting rid of the rivalry, or just being
Mhm.
famous, or just recognizing or
Mhm.
recognized by some people. And so
Mhm.
those hupuja, and then like I want to get a big part of any places, or just saying kindness is going to be really big, and so because I donated this or gave this gift or something, so
Mhm.
it is going to be gone. Whatever you do, it is just for
Mhm.
the pleasing Allah. That is going to be
Mhm.
helpful for whoever does that type of help
Mhm.
for Islam, and they are doing for
Mhm.
Muslim brothers or other all human being as well. That
Mhm.
if you think about it, that Allah is present and watching us, we
Mhm.
cannot just do bad things or actions to other human beings. This
Yeah,
is going to help us to attain the sincerity.
inshallah.
This
Yeah.
this is all I wanted to say, inshallah.
Yeah, thank you, brother John. Thank you. Appreciate it. Great comment from both of you. Just thank you. Now, how about Ali Hocam? Is he here? So would you like to say anything, Ali Hocam?
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, Ali Hocam. Please.
Yes, not about this part, previous part to what was so awareness of divine presence. I'd like to share a few sentences from the 11th flash.
Please go
Inshallah,
ahead.
at the same time looks to the topic we are reading and
Certainly.
discussing now.
Certainly.
Daily life, inshallah, all together with the help of other brothers by making supplication to each other to follow the practices of the Prophet ﷺ takes the believer to gain sincerity, inshallah, more. How? What kind of relation it has? A few sentences only I'd like to share from the 11th flash at the beginning of it. The moment the practices are complied with in even the least significant dealings in the conduct of eating, drinking, or sleeping, such habitual, natural acts become meritorious acts of worship in compliance with the Sharia. For through such commonplace actions, a person thinks of following Allah's noble messenger, والسلام, and conceives of them as conduct of the Sharia. Then, very interesting relation, then he recalls that he is the owner of the Sharia. And from that, again, another connection, from that, his heart turns to Almighty Allah, the true lawgiver, Shari Hakiki, in the 24th word, in the 5th branch, I think in the 3rd fruit, and the same name of Allah is told, Shari Hakiki. I think there is very important related name as we are speaking or reading the realities, which names of Allah has been told. Here, Shari Hakiki. Evema yantiku anil hawa in huwa illa wahyuha. We can remember ayat at the beginning of Najm Surah, Surah Al-Najm. And from that his heart turns to Almighty Allah, the true lawgiver, and he gains a sort of awareness of the divine presence and a sense of worship. To follow Sünnet-i Seniyye gives the believer a sort of awareness of the divine presence. We are now reading and discussing that. This takes the believer to improve, to increase his sincerity. There are levels we are reading now. There are levels in sincerity. A better one, how every believer can attain by following the practice of the Prophet ﷺ. I wanted to share this, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate it. That's very helpful. Yeah. Let's just I would like to go back again. So here, just the one more kind of like in a quick maybe comment. Just one last thing that I would like to ask, maybe just for all of you, for other jump, like Ikmal jump, so jump, so that how about like just here? Would you like to do you have any comments on this? So it says, this assistance and benefits shall not be sought, it is given, it shall not be sought even with the tongue of one's state, lisan hal, by desiring it in heart and expecting it, whether it is given while not expected, otherwise one's sincerity would be wounded. Any comments? Would you like to say anything on this part? That just any example or anything that you'd like to share with us? Maybe I should.
Can I share something very little
Please,
about this?
Yeah. Let's start with you.
Yes, in the family life or in the companies, of course, at the same time in the service of Islam, apparently, I'd like to underline, apparently it seems to be that money problems, material problems are so important. That is, if a person has money and material facilities, that person can serve Islam easily and most. But here, no. I think in one aspect, in material aspect, material problems, money problems, perhaps in one aspect, the easiest one. The most important aspect or issue is this: to focus on the service in sincerity, only sake of Allah. Because rich people in the Islamic society, if they see that, or in the mosque or in other places, people are serving Islam, and they realize that related to the money problem, we should do something. Allah employs them. But unfortunately, not to focus on the services and focus on the money problem, also rich people cannot say, what can we do? I think to focus on, to concentrate on the service solve with the mercy of Allah, is solved by Almighty Allah. Money problems, material problems, and other things, it is necessary to serve Islam, solved easily. But apparently, different things is seen. Money important, material facilities important, but in spiritual aspect, no. The recipient of service is sincerity. The money problems can be solved easily, not by saying to some people, no, they realize that they should help. That's all.
I see. Yes. All right, thank you. How about maybe just Mustafa Hocam, would you like to comment on this and what Ali Hocam said? Just
yes, inshallah. First, a word is missed in translation there. So, however, this assistance and benefits shall not be sought. It is belki verileri. So it's in Turkish belki, and it maybe can perhaps translate as maybe. And that's important there because it implies the uncertainty, right? So in general, and Ustad is here talking about Muslims of Anatolia who have regularly supported their imams, who have supported madrasas and awqaf and foundations and so on and so forth in general. And same for other Muslims in other parts of the world too. I'm a historian. I have not come across a Muslim society in which this would not be generally valid, right? Muslims in general support those who are in the service of religion. And we need to emphasize here that Ustad is talking about the context of service, the context of serving God, the context of serving the Quran, the context of his and his followers' particular service through the Risale-i Nur in the 1930s and on. And that's important because we do seek material benefits, right? We do. It is our. It's part of our being a human being in this world. We are supposed to seek our rizq, right? Now we are supposed to seek our rizq as part of our duty to God because it is because God wants us to do it. So we can remember here the example of two soldiers whose job is to do their training and so on and so forth, but then they are given a fatigue duty in the military, that they wash the cauldrons and they clean the dormitory, etc. Right? So those are our duties, and that's our duty. We do seek those benefits because our risk. We seek our risk, right? But here, the topic is not seeking one's risk. It is seeking material benefits in return for, or in order to benefit the service of the Quran. Right? Now, if it is in return for, that's obvious, because I mean that goes against their definition of sincerity. Like the definition of sincerity is that we do what we do or to
Yeah.
please God. If
Mhm.
I'm doing this in order to get that material benefit, then period. I mean, I'm lost, right? That's completely out of bounds. But then there might be situations where it gets more in like gray zone. It's complicated, right? So I'm, for instance, in the service, and I'm a good reciter of Quran. So I go to a village, and I know that if I, go to the mosque, let's say it's one of the blessed nights, night of Mi'raj, I go to the mosque and I recite Quran. And I know that if I go there and recite Quran, they are going to give me money, and I'm going to then use that money in order to, for instance, let's say, buy more paper to write more recitals. Like, let's think about a specific khidmat, specific service of Ustad Nursi and his followers. I'll buy paper and I'm going to write more recitals. So I go there and I recite Quran because I want that money, right? I don't want it for myself. So theoretically, I'm still doing something sublime, something blessed. But no, that's not the case, because if I recite Quran, that's a worship. You recite Quran because it's Quran. You recite Quran for God's sake, nothing else, right? So Ustad is asking us to recalibrate our intentions even in these subtle situations here, right? Make sure that the material benefit is not your goal, right? In addition to the fact that if that becomes the goal of everybody in the service, it leads to rivalry, and rivalry will lead to the integration of the collective personality, and so on and so forth. But even before that, with regard to me, what I attain from the service, right? I want to attain God's pleasure. And if I switch that material benefit with God's pleasure, I'm not going to attain God's pleasure. Perhaps I'm going to even attain God's anger, because I'm doing something that's supposed to be done for Him alone, not for Him alone, right? So that material benefit is there we live in the world of wisdom. In the world of wisdom, things happen according to patterns, which we recognize as causes and effects, right? And therefore, the material benefit is needed. But ultimately, as someone who has verified faith, we need to see beyond the veil of causes. We need to see that it's ultimately God who affects everything. And therefore, we should move our attention from those material benefits and focus on God's pleasure alone. And if and when we do that, whatever else is necessary, in that realm of wisdom, in the world of wisdom, for the service to continue, will also come, inshallah.
Inshallah, inshallah. Yeah, thank you. Great comment. Hikmatul, would you like to add anything on this?
I just wanted to say, both Abis are already clearly explained that
Yeah.
this is
Great
something.
comments. Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever you do, like I always say that, I mean, you need to think about what is my major goal in this dunya? Why am I here? Asking this question is going to be really helpful. For instance, you're working for the same goal, same mission, and there are two things that you can get. One is that some kind of benefits, material benefits, but also that some kind of other benefits that you can get, or pleasure of Allah. And I think that in the past that I also what was my understanding is that whatever you put in your agenda, daily life or future goal, if you put pleasure of Allah in the first part, the rest is gonna come, even though you don't ask for it or you don't seek for it, and it may be given to you. That's something. Yeah. For instance, I am the one who's talking, or everybody needs to recognize me that I'm talking. That type of things as well. That this kind of benefits too. That is just the routing in different ways instead of pleasuring Allah. That route is different. So this type of things as well is important in order to get some kind of material benefits. And if you put or rank your in agenda that Allah's pleasure is the number one, that I need to think about it. And then that's what we were talking about. Allah is always present and then observing us. Then the rest can come later on. Do with the boundary of Allah and Sunnatullah, okay, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam route, and just leave it to Allah. That is completely like a tawakkul, and that is going to give that second and third. You can gain, like you can be president of the university one day. They will give you if you follow that. For instance, I saw that there were some people were fighting, dean and faculty member or associate dean, and they recognize some others. Hey, this guy is just really honest. For instance, they can do that and then just solve this issue between these two people. So what I was saying that, trying to say maybe, and if you follow and then put everything is like a number one is Allah's pleasure, the rest comes to you, and you can be director and dean, president, or gain more money, although you're expecting some little money when you are doing that in normal daily life. In the service of Islam, and all you need to think about it instead of just thinking, it doesn't matter that whoever, which brother does or which brothers or you do, that is just pleasuring Allah. It's just gonna come. It, and that brother can be like in front line and front desk, and everybody recognize him. And I saw that in the past as well. There are lots of brothers and abis in the back. They were doing great job as well. So Allah has to recognize. That's what they were thinking, and this is what we need to do. What I do all the time, and I try to do actually. I cannot do all of them. Adding, ranking your major goal while you're in the world, right? We said that our goal is marifatullah, muhabbatullah, and then this is something that when you put the pleasure of Allah in the first ranking and first agenda in what you are doing, the rest comes. Whatever Allah is giving to you, because He's the one who's giving and controlling everything. This is all I wanted to say.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, great comments. Great comments. Really appreciate it from all our panelists and just every single one like who joined in and participated. It's really useful, at least I mean on my side, and just inshallah. So it was really great to listening you guys. Really appreciate it. And I'm looking at my time. I'm not sure like if we can read one example. I think it would be maybe we can just leave it for next week. Can kind of cut it at least just a couple of minutes short. But if we would like to just recap and everything, so just so far what I have like has been just benefited like just that the presence and just of Allah is much more important than anything, just as we discussed here, and always keeping in mind and being just always like just having that sort of kind of conscious and keep reminding ourselves, and especially first of all and just uh, working on our own shortcomings and just dealing with our like our own evil commending soul, and then just correcting others and helping just our just surrounded family and just members and the loved ones, then just enlarging the circle and one by one. And prioritization is a lot more important. I'm looking at my notes as you guys commented. Just Bediuzzaman said, like it's been always putting the ranking and just always having that just at the top, and also just like what Mustafa and Ali just mentioned about that acceptance of Allah just in any our deeds in any our like just things, just always and always focus on just live in the Sunnat Saniyah and just keep working, and just then inshallah just the things are going to work out smoothly and all together. And then we shouldn't also forget about that just how I guess like as start like I mentioned again and again just so this hidmet, this like and of course the brotherhood is not just by for us like and for just for all of us. And as he mentioned, like there's been other risales, and that just the division of labor is a lot more important. So if I'm going to do like one thing, it always should always have, instead of like a rivalry, just keep sharing, just keep like helping and shouldering like this, I mean, this work and of course responsibility, just like one step further, and then having like this, I mean, just trying to like this, I mean, be part of this this whole kind of just huge kind of share like in a brotherhood, and inshallah, so then we can gain that sincerity by the time, inshallah, just slowly, one by one. But then, of course, and again, our goal is just like without even thinking about just acceptance of Allah. So, like, just if He accepts, and just that's it. So, And that's what I learned today. Thank you so much for our panelists and our brothers who chimed in. I appreciate it for Hikmet Hocam, Mustafa Hocam, and Ali Hocam. But I'd like to go back again, Ali Hocam, to one last time for him to recite something and just pray, and then we can call it a week.
Yes, Subhaneke la ilme lena illa ma allamtena inneke entel alimul hakim. Ve ahiru davahum enilhamdülillahi rabbil alemin. Rabbena etmim lena nurana ve ğfir lena inneke ala kulli şeyin kadir. Rabbena ğfir lena ve li ihvaninellezine sebekuna bil iman. Ve la tec'al fi kulubina gillen lillezine amenu. Rabbena inneke raufur rahim. Rabbena zalemna enfusena ve illem tağfir lena ve terhamna lenekunenne minel khasirin. Allahümme zidna ilmen ve nuran ve hilma ve a'tina ni'meten zahire ve ni'meten batine. Ya muhavvilel havli vel ahval, havvil halena ila ahsenil hal. Allahümme bihakkı suretil ihlas, ic'alna min ibadikel muhlusinel muhlasin. Amin. Lillahi Teala'l Fatiha.
Just thank you so much for coming in, and appreciate it for your again your presence, and hopefully I'll see you next week, inshallah.